All right, hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Sleeping with the Numbers podcast. Dylan here, ready for the conference championships. It's actually exciting, at least on the NFC side. It feels like, the Chiefs making it yet again to another conference final pisses the world off. Nobody wants to see them win. It is just annoying. A team that everyone just bandwagoned on the past couple years because they were basically the new Patriots. Nobody wants to see them win again, and the Baltimore Ravens are standing in their way. What hopefully will be a win for Baltimore to make it to the Super Bowl. As a Steelers fan, that hurts my heart to say, but honestly, I do want them to win at least this game. On the fence about wanting them to win it all, but man, I don't want to see Kansas City do it again. Once they started going downhill, they kind of showed their colors, and colors weren't my favorite colors. I like blue more often. That's a stupid fucking joke. But we get some good games there. Baltimore versus Kansas City should be a really good game no matter what happens. Obviously, we know what we want to happen. And then Detroit making it to a conference finals against San Francisco. That kind of feels like David Goliath type shit. Just exciting. I'm glad it's different. San Francisco, I guess, isn't really that different, but Detroit getting there feels good. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. I hope it isn't a slaughter. The line currently suggests it will be minus 7.5 in San Francisco's favor here when they're at home. So hopefully it won't be that way. Detroit has been able to obviously keep it competitive in their games when they are supposed to lose. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be exciting no matter what. Both games on Sunday. This is going to be a shorter episode. I only got 2 games to talk about. And then we'll get a Super Bowl episode where I think we're going to do exactly what we did last time, where I pick... God, what Super Bowl are we on now? 57? 58? Oh no, I don't even know. That's embarrassing. I'm pretty sure it's 58 because last year I think I did 57 bets for Super Bowl 57. Let me confirm that because that's just something I should probably know. But here we are. Super Bowl. Oh God, okay. Roman numerals 8. Yeah, okay. 58. I was right. So that will be good. I'll have 58 bets for us. Probably don't recommend following all of them, but it's a fun thing to do for the Super Bowl. You get some ridiculous bets thrown in there, but we're going to do it anyways because it's a good time. Want to quickly talk about the season-long award bets. They announced the 5 finalists for each category, so I want to go through those and kind of compare it to my bets I put at the beginning of the season to see, kind of what our chances are here to make some more money before the season ends. So as I've talked about, I had Lamar Jackson as MVP. Obviously, he makes it as a finalist here, along with Josh Allen, Christian McCaffrey, which that's really cool to see a running back in there, but it always goes to a quarterback. Dak and Brock also in here. Some books have Lamar at minus 8,000. Some books have him at minus 20,000. So that's why it's always good to do some odd shopping. But really what that tells you is he's pretty much locked in for MVP. So I feel good there with my bet I made at the beginning of the season, where I was able to grab Lamar for MVP at plus 1,500. So that feels good. Feeling like I'm going to get a win there. Defensive Player of the Year, you got DaRon Bland, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and TJ Watt. I had my bets on TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, and Micah Parsons. Only picked 3 there. So I believe the current front runner is Myles Garrett, or at least it was the last time I saw it. Let me check again. Oh, that's the wrong bet. Yeah, Myles Garrett currently sitting at minus 200. Okay, so it's a little closer than what I originally thought. So Yeah, you get Myles Garrett at minus 200, TJ Watt at plus 200, Micah Parsons at plus 350. Oh man, Max Crosby at plus 6,000. Where's Deron Bland on this? I don't even see him. Do they not even have odds for him? That's sad. That's kind of mean. Do a control F real quick and see if I can. There he is, plus 20,000. Okay, he was at the very bottom here, so it's cool. Make it into the finalists, good for him. But looking like Myles Garrett, although playoff performance should really count because that was a poor game he had against Houston. So I hope it's TJ Watt. That injury probably fucks him, but we'll see what happens there. Micah Parsons, kind of similar to Myles Garrett. They just had a kind of poopy end to the season, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully TJ or Micah. That's where I have my money. Offensive Player of the Year. Finalists Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott. I feel like this is very likely Christian McCaffrey's. I mean, if you're nominated, the only other position nominated for MVP and you don't win that, you probably get Offensive Player of the Year. I really don't know how you don't. That just feels like it should be. So the odds have McCaffrey as a favorite, minus 300 on some books, minus 275 on others. Caesars Sportsbook seems to be the best place to get those odds. Tyreek at plus 250 as the second favorite. He sadly got hurt, had a down end of the season, so I think that kind of kicks him out of the talks here. And CeeDee Lamb at plus 1,600. I don't think so. I don't think that's working. Dak, no, he's also plus 20,000. So that's not working there. Feel good about that one because I also had Christian McCaffrey as Offensive Player of the Year, also at plus 1,500. So same odds as Lamar. So that feels good there. Offensive Rookie of the Year, definitely fucked this one up because I did not bet on CJ Stroud. I don't know how it isn't going to be CJ Stroud. Let me pull up those odds and see just what we got here because it has to be CJ. Minus 4,000 for CJ Stroud, minus 2,000 other places, minus 1,000 at Bet Rivers. Still don't take a bet on that. But the other guys here are Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta. So you get two Detroit Lions there, which is pretty cool. Puka Nacua, who obviously had a fantastic breakout season. Excited to see his future. And then Bijan Robinson. He had a decent season. He was just kind of capped by his quarterback and his coach and his team. So sadly, I think Bijan could have had a better season. It just wasn't there. So hopefully new coach brings some life into this offense. However, he is a defensive-minded coach, so unsure of exactly how that will go. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, I had Bijan and Gibbs. I didn't bet anyone else. So that's a note for myself next year on, maybe cast a wider net on these offensive rookies. Bijan was the big favorite here at plus 275 is what I got him at. And now he's at... Man, wow, I really gotta scroll down for Bijan here. For Bijan, plus 1,800 in some places, plus 3,000 in others. Yeah, so not great there. For Defensive Rookie of the Year, the finalists are Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Joey Porter Jr., which that does shock me a little bit. Joey Porter Jr. had a decent season for the Steelers, but honestly, it felt like I wanted more out of him as a fan. Maybe that's just me. But cool. That's really cool to see him at least break into the final five. That's really cool. Kobe Turner for the Rams, and then Devon Witherspoon, who I believe I had my money on. I did. So I had Christian Gonzalez, Devon Witherspoon, and Will Anderson as my picks for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Current odds are... Pull it open. Current odds are Jalen Carter is the current favorite at minus 200 on some books, minus 120 on others, followed by Will Anderson at plus 300 and Kobe Turner at plus 450. Devon Witherspoon, not looking great there at plus 10,000. So Again, this feels similar to Myles Garrett. Like, I understand he's the favorite. Jalen Carter here's the favorite, but can you look at the Philadelphia defense and be like, oh yeah, that's great. He did a good job. Maybe that's a holistic look at the defense, and that's not how you should do it. You should look at the individual player. But man, it just really felt like both of those defenses, just when it meant the most, they didn't do it. They didn't get it done. So that's a little bit of a shame. But those are my bets here I have for these awards. There's a few other ones that I didn't bet on. I didn't bet on the comeback player of the year. I didn't bet on the coach of the year. I didn't bet on assistant coach of the year. The comeback player of the year award is actually kind of wild when you think about it. I'm pretty sure it will go to Damar Hamlin just because I don't know, I guess you can call it a feel-good story, but I think everyone really knows it belongs to Joe Flacco. Honestly, or even Baker Mayfield. I feel like in terms of actual comeback play, both Flacco and Baker had better performances than Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin didn't honestly do shit. We know why he's getting the award, and that's fine. That's an amazing thing to come back from, but is he on the team next year? I don't know his contract situation, but he didn't do much at all. So again, it sounds harsh, and maybe it is, but I think the world knows that in terms of actual comeback play, he's not the dude. Anyways, moving on to the next set of games here, the conference championships. Let's actually review the divisional games real quick. Didn't go great. We had moneyline bets on Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and Green Bay. From the model, they all lost. Every single one of them lost. So model obviously taking some risk here. And I'm curious, I've been looking at this performance, and I'll probably do an episode on a model review and how we can improve for next season. And part of me wants to not use the model for playoff bets. It feels pretty inaccurate. And I think that's because of a few reasons. One is I think there's more intangibles that go into playoff football, and the model doesn't do that. The model only cares about tangibles. It's only possible to care about the tangibles for the model. So I think that's a problem. Like, for example, Kansas City versus Buffalo. I had Kansas City winning that game. And I think a lot of people did, even though Kansas City was the dog. It just felt like their experience, the type of team everyone knows that Kansas City is, it felt like they were going to get the win. Now, yes, Buffalo kept it very close. There were like a few plays. If you change it, Buffalo probably wins that game. But that's also just something that has always gone on with Buffalo every year for the past, 3-4 years. It's like they look like a team that's able to do it, and then they collapse. So that's something the model can't measure, and why, for next season, I really am going to take a hard look and is it better if we don't make these bets because they don't work out? For the rest of the season, we're going to keep doing it, but please keep that in mind, and I will always remind everyone before we make these bets if there's things that I don't agree with because of the way the model is, just how it works, how statistics work. That's really all the model is. So keep that in mind. Myself, I didn't do that great either. I had Houston plus 10, that didn't work. Green Bay plus 10, that worked. Tampa Bay plus 7, I really expected a lot more out of Baker, that didn't work. And then I had Kansas City plus 3, that obviously worked. The unders, that didn't work. I thought we were going to get a lot more unders. They were competitive games, pretty back and forth for the most part, at least until the end for some of them. So only 2 or 3 on the unders there. But let's hop into this week. We're looking forward. First matchup, AFC Championship. Kansas City going to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Ravens are 4-point home favorites here. And That feels right. That feels like where the line should be. Baltimore is the better team, but exactly what I just talked about. It feels like there are these intangibles that cast a shadow on everything, and you can just feel that the Chiefs are just gathering up this dark energy and are gonna fucking do it again. And I know that's what I said at the very first episode of this season. I said I think Kansas City is gonna win it all again. I'm kind of pissed about that because I don't want to be right. The way this season has gone made me really not like this team. They have not performed. The first year I draft Mahomes and Kelsey, and they kill me in fantasy. So there's a lot of bias there for sure. But man, I just really do not want to see them win again, even though that's what I picked at the beginning. I just don't want it to happen. I will gladly be wrong. Either way, over under a 44.5 feels somewhat low. I know both defenses are really good, but both offenses obviously good as well. So I think I do lean the over here when you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson and when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes that on any play they can turn it into a touchdown. Whether it's Lamar running it in or Patrick Mahomes scrambling and finding Rashee Rice downfield wide open. That can happen on every single play. And when that threat is available on both sides, that sounds good for the over. So I do lean towards the over here. Man. I want Baltimore to win. The spread, I'd probably take Kansas City +4 or +3.5. What's that? No, +4. And just because I don't know what's happening here. This is such a close game, and that's how it should be for a conference championship. They should be close games. The model has an edge on Baltimore. They have Baltimore winning as well, 82.11% win probability, a 15.664% edge at -198. I actually got Baltimore at -192 the other day when I ran the model in the first place. So that's very close to that -200 line that we don't bet under. But the model going with Baltimore to win and bet on. Let's hope it's right. Final matchup here, the NFC Championship game, is, at least according to Vegas, supposed to be a bit more of a blowout. The 49ers favored by 7.5 at home. Over-under, large, massive over-under of 51.5. That's a tough one, especially when you have probably the number one defense in the 49ers. And while, the Detroit offense is good and unique, the Niners defense is just a different level. It really is. And when that happened, it's push come to shove, and I think the 49ers defense is going to shove a lot harder than the Detroit offense is. With that said, these conference games, these playoff games in general, they tend to be pretty close. I know the +10 for Houston didn't work out last time, but I do have some concerns here for the 49ers. I wasn't super impressed with how they beat Green Bay. They were 10.5 point favorites against Green Bay, and Green Bay made them work for every single point in that game. Is that more of a thumbs up for Green Bay than it is a thumbs down for the Niners? I'm not so sure. But the Niners, the past few games we've seen them play, they felt disappointing. Now, you look at it at an individual or a fantasy level, and you look at McCaffrey, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's amazing. Purdy's play hasn't been fantastic. Debo is injured, so we need to keep an eye on if he's even going to play. And when they're without Debo, it's like a whole different ballgame. You have one less crazy guy, talented superstar to worry about in this offense. And I think that makes it easier for the 49ers defense, which is already very good. you can make the argument, was Green Bay's offense better than Detroit's? I don't know. I think maybe their play calling's a bit better. But personnel-wise, I don't think so. I think Detroit has a better offense. Maybe that will change in the next season or so because Green Bay is just so young. But as of right now, looking at Jamar Gibbs, looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, looking at David Montgomery, Sam Laporta, they have some killers on this offense that can do things. Again, I already stated I think the defense can take care of them. But I wouldn't be surprised if this one stays a bit close. So we'll see what happens there. And when I say that probably means I am leaning towards Detroit at plus 7.5. The model. Doing the exact same. The model actually has Detroit to win. So statistically, the model has not been impressed by San Francisco, giving them only a 4.397% chance of winning. That's crazy. But hey, the model does what the model does. I'm not going to force anyone to follow anything, but I'm just telling you the numbers here. That's the name of the show. Detroit, a 95.603% win probability, a massive edge. I think this is the biggest of the playoffs, of 70.603% at plus 300 for Detroit. So that's where we're going to be putting our money here for the season. We'll see if it works out this time. The dogs have not been too great so far this playoffs, but we'll see what happens. We're going to let it ride for the rest of the season. Mostly because we can't end up in negative money because we're already up, almost 50 units. That obviously has been coming down with these playoffs, but it's been a fun ride. I'm excited. We're getting there to the end, sadly. Then once football season ends, I have no idea what to do with my life. I just sit here and cry mostly. But that will do it for this show. Follow along with our bets at sleepingwiththenumbers.com/bets. You can also follow us on Action Network at SWTN_model. That's where all of the model bets will be going. But all of the model bets and my bets are on the website. If you want to check it out, that's where we put everything. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week when we don't have games, so that will just maybe be like a Super Bowl primer or something. We'll see what happens. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.